We've also got Khan from We're both partners with the company, and Faroz, he's the guy responsible for this solution, Maextro. So we hope you enjoy the demo. Amy, can I just confirm you can see the screen? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Great stuff. Okay, thank you. I know that we're going to follow today. We'll just give you a little bit of background on us and how we come up with the solution, and we'll just have a look at kind of other technology solutions in this space. So why there is a need for solutions like Maextro, and then that's across to Faroz, who's going to get on the most common kind of use, which is Material Master, but we're also subsequent functions as well, which is where probably Maextro differentiates significantly with other tools. And what we mean by subsequent functions, the system itself is more process orientated. So if you have Material Master processes, and then maybe you have things like you need to do pricing data or bill of materials or other manufacturing information, they can be tagged on the end. Similar thing with any object, really. So if it's a customer or vendor, you might want to create pricing contracts. So subsequent function is quite an important aspect of Maextro, which we'll cover. We're going to show you different UIs, so different user interfaces. So again, we're going to show SAP GUI. We're going to go SAP screen personas. We'll explain a little bit about screen personas. We'll also explain about the Fiori apps that come as standard with Maextro. And I'll show you from a desktop and a mobile phone point of view how those can be brought into lines of business. And then a little bit different on this webinar, we're actually going to jump behind the scenes to show you that, you know, MDM solutions are quite technically challenging in terms of setup. We're going to show you some of the configuration options within Maextro and how configurable and easy it is to actually get up and running and deploy and start managing your business processes through the solution. So yeah, it'd be good if we can get some Q&As at the end. We'll leave a good 15 or 10 minutes at the end for that. See, I appreciate. I noticed a few some faces on the call that we've already spoken to. So thanks for coming back and listening again. There's some new people on the call as well, but for those of you that don't know us, really young company formed in 2012, and really, if I were to summarize the company, it's about innovation and user experience. What's probably different about it is the fact that we do hire designers, and they help with our kind of product innovation, but also our interface and user experience offering as well. So it's in the West Midlands, just on the North Wales border. Also have a development office in India as well. We focus digital user experience and core. Obviously, what we're talking about really are these three areas brought into one kind of software solution. So I'll go through these things. These are what you'd probably expect from an SAP partner anyway. So we deal in core ERP. Obviously, enterprise user experience practice. So we deal with different technologies like screen personas, SAP Fiori. We use design thinking as a methodology. Obviously, we're bringing new products out into the SAP space. So this whole area of add-ons within SAP is where we're kind of focusing. Maextro is one area that we think is going to add certainly value to most enterprises. People of who we've done so far, where Maextro's been technically deployed. Won't too much about these, but you'll find some case studies on our website. But it's still, you know, a fairly new product, but we've got some great brands on board now. So just to summarize before we go kind of into the system itself and why it's come from, why it come out of our innovation, it's purely we wanted to come up with a solution that manages data, but all their objects. And because a lot of solutions out there are kind of technically focused, we wanted to to focus not on technical objects, but process. So process and workflow and things like that. We also wanted to give the ability to introduce your own business rules, like default values for certain fields, conditional records and things like that. But the beauty is it can all be done without programming, so just like a configuration menu in SAP, for those of you that know their way around the IMG. So we'll go through some of these bits of functionality. In terms of what's out there in the marketplace, well, I'm sure some of you are using other solutions right now, the SAP solutions that are out there. And for those of you that have been involved in things like MDG, appreciate that they're fairly complex, fairly expensive, and take quite a long time to actually get up and running. So across here, you can see the kind of data life cycle, and we'll show where Maestro fits into this space. So ultimately, where Maestro started off was managing data, and it struck us when we were coming up with the products years initially that we got a time on SAP projects and we spend a lot of time blueprinting, and the main reasons why SAP projects fail is around management and data. So we try and bring a solution to market that will actually manage the data life cycle from creation to kind of exit. So Maestro sits quite in the managed space, but we have areas in terms of reporting, integrating, which we can talk about. We've got some quite nice case studies of integrating with other systems like MES systems and shop floor systems, and we're currently working on a project around Salesforce as well. So reviewing and then cleansing data, so maintaining your data is quite important as well. But today I'm going to focus a lot of our demo around managing, so actually the creation and amendment of data. One of the key points here, and again we'll give a copy of these slides. We all have the ability to do mass loads. Okay, so again there's tools out there. But because of our rule engine within Maestro, we've got a nice way to kind of nice governance processes across mass loads of data. But our primary focus is about runtime, real-time data, which we're going to show you today. So guys, you might have some solutions in place, the Excel-based solutions, or you might have other solutions like Windshuttles are quite a classic one, where you're using these tools to manage data. Maestro basically is an SAP add-on that sits within your core ERP. So whether you're ECC6 or S/4HANA, Maestro will live within it. So we focus quite heavily on process, and we've come up with some kind of best practice templates within Maestro. It's got its own inbuilt workflow, and that's a handful of objects, but it will manage any SAP object. And our approach really is to get this governance and audit layer in place, ready for your journey to S4. So we've already got a client on S4 that's running Maestro. We see this as quite a nice way to kind of some of those processes and cleaning up that data ready for that journey. So that's just a little bit of background on why I'm there. And before to Farrell's why it's different. This is what we hope you'll see from the demo. It's simple, as I said, it's lightweight, lives within your SAP system. It's mostly human-centered design, and what we mean by that is you don't need the types of resource you typically need for a master data project. So you won't need people that do builds framework for workflow, for example. You don't need an MDM. It should be, your kind of functional people should be able to manage this tool. And I'll show you some of the stuff behind the scenes. And the other obvious one that's quite attractive to most people is it's rapid, it's cost-effective, and flexible. So what Farrell is going to take you through in terms of the process now. This is the same kind of process for whether you're creating data, changing data, or extending data to other organizational structures within your SAP enterprise. So it typically starts off with a create, and then it follows a series of approvals. Again, this is all configurable. Some people actually having approval steps at the beginning, just want one at the end. Some people want multiple approval steps. It's all configurable with Maestro. It sits in its table space in SAP and can be obviously used to create those different objects throughout that process. So typically, most people wait until the final approval to create the data in SAP, but data can be updated real time as well. So again, it's a configuration choice. You'll see during the demo, which Faraz is going to show, so workflow, the fact that we focus on process, and it should be, because of our templates that we view, it's very kind of rapid in terms of deployment. So one of the good feedbacks we get actually around accountability is the fact that right every stage of the process of whether you're approving or collecting data, there is accountability. So there is date and time and name stamps across all the aspects of Maestro. Okay. We'll show you. I'm sure people might be interested in how easy it is this to actually get set up. And from this point of view as well, so we've got some nice things in here around business rules, but also search functions as well. So we've kind of got duplicate checks and on all these types of good stuff. You'll see we're going to show you different UIs. I think, Faraz, you're going to quickly show GUI, and then we're going to jump straight into screen personas. Screen personas is great purely because you can brand it and you hide things very, very quickly, make the buttons bigger and all sorts of good stuff. Again, we've got templates that we drop onto systems as well. So the bit we're going to run through today is quite a typical one, to be honest with you. I'm going to start with a request coming in for a new material, and in this example, it's an account manager raising that request. And then typically a data librarian would pick that request and view it and approve it, and then through stages of gather data. Now, in some businesses, it might be one person gathering all that data. In others, it might be distributed across different departments. So we go to finance for pricing information, to purchasing, we go to sales, and we go to quality or production for MRP. So you've got that real nice flexibility within Maestro. And it's all coming back into that master data team to view, approve, and update the material master in SAP. I was going to show these subsequent functions as well. So as an example here, it could be pricing or bill of materials or routing or whatever. We'll show material today because it's probably the most common one. But if you think about it from a process point of view, this could be it could be a WBS object. It could be a GL account. It could be vendor. It can be what object you decide in SAP. On that, Faraz, I'm going to hand across.
Okay. Thank you. Let me can see my screen, Dan, please, for me.
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Khan, as Dan introduced me earlier. I'm going to take you through the demo with the standard material master object. The screen you see in front of me is the standard landing page or the launch pad using SAP screen personas. Show you some of the configuration in standard SAP GUI, but demo I'm going to do it using screen personas. So this screen you see in front of me is what we have done using latest screen personas flavors. Now the access can be determined based on the users who has the backend appropriate access in the backend. Now I'm going to start my process by creating a new request. So on new request, and you see a screen in front of me where it's asking me to fill in some of the details in here. So I'm going to start doing a new request, and I'll keep explaining as I go about doing it. So here I put a description here, and I select the request type. Now, the request could be an extend or create or a change, but for the purposes, we're doing a new request. So I'm creating a new product here. Object, depending upon the authorization, you select the appropriate object. In this case, I'm doing a material master, so I select material master. Now it could be low, high, medium. This is used purely for the reporting purposes. Org division again. This org division could be a division within your company. It could be a plan. It could be a company code. Could be a sales org. Nothing to do with standard SAP division codes or entity codes. You can define your own just for the reporting purposes. It's configuration within Maextro. Reason codes. Define these reason codes for reporting purposes. You can define any number of reasons you want here. And the expected completion date. So I'll come back to this expected completion date when we look at the process. So item there, and then the most important one is the template. Against each object, you could have more than one template. So you, like for instance, you could have one for traded goods, one for finished goods, and so on. Selecting this demo template. Now, as I do that, a pop-up screen has appeared for me here. Now, what it is telling me is that I'm trying to create a new request for the material object, and this template is asking me to search for a product before it is created. Now, this is kind of a duplicate check so that you make sure you're not creating duplicate records back in SAP. Now, the search can be performed by these three criteria, or we can customize it the way you want. You could search it based on the old material number, or product hierarchy, or it can be anything. Now, I'm just going to do a simple generic search based on the description. I'm saying, show me all the materials so has the matching description as demo. Now, I start with the big list here because obviously in high-desk system, we have all these materials that have been created. Now, if I want, I could click on this and go and look at the materials. I need a new material anyway, so I'm not going to bother about this. I'm going to cancel and move forward. Now, as soon as I do that, I see the list of different tasks that appear. Now, to you, it might sound, oh gosh, there are too many steps here now. I'm just creating a material master. This is purely, customizable. You can customize how many steps you want. For demo purposes, this is like a distributed model where every department responsible for their view is going to perform their task. So the very first task I have for this template is somebody needs to approve it, and it follows on with the basic data purchasing. Now, this is split based on the views. You want to combine everything into one, you can do that. There's no problem at all. And then the final step is the approved data. This is the step where it actually goes and create the SAP record in the backend ERP. Now, as Dan was explaining earlier, Maestro is not just about data management, it's also about process management. So we focus heavily on the processes. So you can see that we don't stop here. Like step red is the actual approval where the material master record is created. But you can carry on from there. You could say, okay, I've finished my finished goods now. I want to go ahead and my bill of material, which is 110. Or you want to say, I want to go and do some updates, some Z tables, and then follow from there. I want to do transfer some data to APO. So likewise, you can build your own processes. It could be just a notification. It could be any third-party system you want to inform. Like you could just have a step in there and someone goes in there and positively acknowledges. Now, this target date in front of you here is just a date when they would like to finish this task. There's no restriction as such. It's just purely used for reporting purposes against traffic light signals, green and amber. This is what based on the expected delivery date, which is expected completion date. There is a logic behind it. You can set up the number of lead time days. And you can say, we're also working on to have lead times in hours. So you can have actually in hours rather than days. If you want, you can put some comments there. Material. And the most important tab in here is the detail tab in here. Now, this is very important and adds real functionality in there. So at the time when the request is created, the requester can actually start to populate some of the data in here. They need to, but hopefully the requester would know what material he is creating, so he can start to do a material description here. He can also do a base unit of measure. He can also do a material group. Now, the drop downs, the F4 list, again, it's all standard SAP drop down list that comes in. I'm filling in. Now, you decide what fields, what values you want here, and then you just bring in those. But the most important one is this org level data. Now you can see that I have kind of predefined against my template that whenever I'm creating this new traded goods, I want this always to be created for plant 1000 and 2000. So you can predefine these sort of rules directly against the template. So now the advantage here is you're not going to miss out on any plants or any storage location or any source sales or data in there. So this is a good way of ensuring that the record is created against the right org level within standard SAP. So this is one of the good features in the Maextro. Now, once I'm done with that, the user can change these values if you wish to, but hopefully, if you have decided on the rules, then they don't have to change this, and then it can just carry on. I'm going to do a create request. Now, this stage request has been created. You can see on the bottom of the screen, 6129. Stage of workflow notification is triggered to the relevant approvers or the task owners in my process. Now I'll come back to my launchpad, launchpad, and you can see in my task list, I see this my task list. So you can see this is my task list. I also get an email notification. So if the user has got access to email, then he can click in the email and then he'll come back to the same task list. Or they can simply log on onto SAP and click on my task list, and you can see here. Now, because I'm an admin here, I see all the different tasks against my name. But usually if I'm just an approver, I would see an approved task. Or if I'm a person responsible for finance data, I would only see step 19 here. For demo purposes, I have got access to everything, so that's why I see here. You can see that the important thing to note here is that the task the step numbers, which is 10, 20, 30, 40, like that. And then there is this column which tells me there is a dependency. So you can see that the first approved task, there's no dependency at all. But for the subsequent tasks, which is 20, 30, 50, so on, there is a dependencies, which means I cannot do 30 unless the 20 is done. But also one thing I have noticed here, some of the tasks can be done in parallel. So for instance, step 30 to step 90 can be done in parallel because they all depend on 20. So this is basic workflow in there. And the good thing here is you define it in config. You don't need to rely on ABAPers or any technical expertise to decide this for you. You can actually go and do this yourself. So I'm just going to go do some of the tasks here very quickly. So I'm going to just go into the approved task here. So see exactly the same screen here. You can see comments here, what comments have been made. But most important, I can also see my search history here. Make sure, if the user, before quitting this request, has he or she made the searches. So I clearly say, yes, the search made, and I'm happy for this. So as an approver, I'm making all the conscious decisions. Yes, I've checked all the data. That yes, go ahead and create this trail. So I've approved the request now. Then I carry on. So you can see that step 20 is now ready. Again, the email gets triggered and notification goes to the concerned users. So I'm going to quickly go through and finish off just one or two screens here. I'm not going to go through all the views, just to show you some of the capabilities within Maextro. Now, this is a step that we call is the data gathering step. It's independent of the object. Any object you do, you see the same screen here. So that's the beauty of Maextro, is you don't have to train people, how to use Maextro for different objects. Any object you do, you see the same screen. On the left-hand side, you see the view that you need to populate, and on the right-hand side, you can see the fields that you need to populate. Again, good feature. You only bring in the fields that you want the user to fill in, or the fields that you want him to see. You don't need to bring in all the fields. So for instance, basic data 1, there are hundreds of fields on standard SAP, but I've got only 4 fields. So like that, it's a good standard feature. Once you're happy with this, you mark status is complete. Then you go on to my unit of measure tab. Then again, see the good feature here is I've predefined all the values and made some of them read-only. So you're kind of forcing people, ensuring data integrity, ensuring the data is correct at the beginning. So you asking users to fill in just the quantity version. So I'm saying just fill in this one box box is equal to 30, 40, whatever it is. One pallet is equal to 100 or each is on this. I'm happy with this. My status is complete. All I do then click save. So once I click save, then it goes and do all the validation, and if it's happy with that, it's going to complete the status, mark the status is complete. So at stage, the status is complete now. The next step in process is again available now for the user to go and process. So I'll go back. You see that all from 30 to 90 is now open for me to do. I'm going to quickly do the MRP view here just to show you the capabilities, and then I'll not do it all the other steps unless you guys want to see something there. So I'm just going to quickly go into the MRP view. See here, the MRP view is laid out very clearly for me by plant. So you remember when we created the request, we said start with two plant MRP view 1000 and MRP view 2000. So it's telling me that I need to populate the data. Some of the data is pre-populated for me, like the plant code and the MRP group. There's a rule behind it telling me, you know, if the plant is 1000, the MRP group should always be 0010. Now, if I go in there, you can see a different MRP group. So these sort of simple rules, you can write it. Again, just to show you some of the capabilities within Maextro, how simple the drawings. Again, coming from standard SAP, you don't have to do anything different. It can be filtered by plant code directly for you. You select that drop-down. Now, the MRP controller drop-down was standard SAP F4 search help, but you know, sometimes those SAP search helps can be very long, or you know, there are entries there, the redundant entries. You don't want then obsolete field values in there. You also write your own list of values. So on special procurement key, for instance, I have got my own list of values because I want only these two values to appear. So you can write your own drop-down values in there. So, and those drop-down values can be dependent again. So for instance, for plant 1000, I had drop-down values of 10 and 20. I mark the status complete. I go on to plant 2000, and I do the drop-down here on special procurement key. You can see the drop-down values is going to be completely different, which is going to be 30 and 40. So like these simple rules, very simple, but very effective. You can write it with no ABAP at all. Do it yourself, kind of config. Happy with this data. Obviously, I'm not filling in all the data in there, but I mark the status complete. I say it, and then the carries on from here. Likewise, you fill in all the fields, all the views, and once the final process is done, people can go in, the approver can go into this approved data, and then he or she can approve, and at that stage, the data is created in backend after. I'm not going to bore you with doing all the views, so let's move on then, because Dan, I think, would like to show you some Fury apps as well. So I'm just pass on at this stage to Dan.
So before you do that, would you show just some of the standard reports, because I think that would be useful from a SLA and a reporting point of view. People can kind of track where their requests are, see with, look at the bottlenecks. So I think probably an important thing that people might like to see.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm just sharing my screen again. So I'm back to my Personas Launchpad here. So I go back. There is a request log in here. This is a basic report which you can run. So can't remember the
729, I think it might have been. Just that. I'll tell you.
Yeah, 9. So you can see there is this is standard ALB report. There's lots of data behind it, but you can clearly track now. You can see that you know, who has done what step, approved request is completed. It's all green. Purchase data hasn't been completed here, but I went in and created the MRP view, so that's green, but the rest of the process is still open. So you can clearly tell there's a lot of data behind it as well. If you want to bring in the template code and all the standard ALV, and all, you can use the same data. If you have a better reporting tool like BI, BW, we can expose the data there. Then you can do your reporting there as well. Okay. So I'll pass on to you, Dan, at this station.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Faraz.
Okay.
So before I show some of the kind of fancy stuff, I just wanted to explain other capabilities. So hopefully, as Faraz says, you get the idea that there's really 4 or 5 transactions within Maestro for whatever object you're using. So from a training point of view, it's perfect. Obviously, we do other processes as well, like mass processing, so the integration using Excel. There's some videos on YouTube. We won't go through that today. The good thing about Maestro is it will drop a template in Excel already pre-populated with your business rules. And when it's loaded back in after entries have been maybe added or changed, Maestro will then check and validate that data business rules. So it's whole mass functionality, but it does it in probably a more simple but clever way in terms of governing data. So with that Excel, Farrell's mentioned that obviously you have a work list within SAP, but you also get email integration. So whatever Outlook or Office 365 capability you're using, Maestro can piggyback off the top of that. And calendars. So as you've seen, we rely on processes and tasks. We can even send tasks into people's calendars, which is great. But how many tasks you get, it could be a bit of a nightmare as well. But the people use it because they need reminders. They like that functionality. So what we're kind of showing you, I'm going to come on to some of the Fiori stuff. So obviously GUI, screen owners. For those of you that don't know much about it, I would really encourage you to either to our website and have a look at screen personas. We're working with SAP on some really stuff around mobilizing screen personas, and obviously the SAP Fiori is the SAP UI5 responsive design, which actually screen personas has come a long way now, so we can actually offer that on mobile as well. So different user access, which is quite important. Before we into architecture, let me just show you some of this stuff. So what Farrell's was showing you, so screen personas, and these basically different flavors that you could have for different groups of business or different divisions. You can brand it differently. Very powerful because SAP GUI, some people love it, some people loathe it. This is a quick way to make your UI a lot better, especially when we're talking data. And we have SAP Fiori as well. So I'll just show you quickly what it kind of looks like. So my authorizations, I'll see the objects that I can see. I've got exactly the same kind of functionality here. I guess it made a lot more simple with SAP Fiori, and again, I can use it on tablet or mobile. So you'd say information, you get your detail tabs, you get your views there that I need to populate. So it's incredibly powerful. You also got your search functions, which can be mandatory as well. So you've still got all that kind of governance in place. So I'm going to create this request. 6 now. I'll move on to C. So let's give this a go. See, same functionality, but I'm actually going to go in and have a look at an approval. I mean, it'll make sense for approvals, okay? For data gathering, for lots of data gathering, probably not. You can see here that I get somewhere I can go in and I can have a look at the requester. I can email that requester. So it's got some. I can look at the search criteria, but ultimately I'm just going to approve this. Okay. 613. Okay. Fiori mobile tasks, so I can see my tasks there. I can search and have a look exactly where that one is. I think it was 6138. So again, where things are, how much they're due, or how much time's remaining. So it's got some quite nice little apps. We've got basic analytics on Fiori as well, which I'll just, obviously this would look better on a tablet. Let's just go. I want to go from yesterday to today. Okay, some objects that have been created. I can drill down from here and have a look at my reason codes, what's open, what's. So it's got some quite nice functionality for simple analytics. So what we typically advise is for statistics, SAP Fiori and our basic apps will do the job. If you want to do quite deep analytics, we'd say, because this sits in SAP and sits within your core ERP system, you could just put some extractors into your BI or BW system. So it's got some nice stuff. It's kind of got some nice stuff around Fiori. The interface, complete sense if you want to simplify the process. The approval stage is a no-brainer to be putting onto mobile and tablet devices. And you're simplifying screen personas even further by adopting SAP Fiori technology there. So just a little demo. To the architecture, I'll let Feroz go through some of the little pieces of config in a moment, but as you can see, Maestro sits in your core SAP. It's typically 4 transports that we drop, and that's including roles and authorizations, templates, all that type of thing. So it's very quick, and you have the option of UI. So everybody will have GUI, but if you have the right patch level, we'll deploy screen personas, and if you have SAP Fiori and your landscape is ready, we give you the mobile apps as well. So that's the kind of architecture behind it. This is quite an important one, which I think Feroz is going to go into config and showcase. So biz rules. So this is what we were talking about, defaults, conditional field values when you're clicking on drop downs. All this is configurable. Slides pack of all these anyway, and if people have got questions, please out. Also give people the option of writing their own user exits, because obviously we think we can cover 95% of all scenarios with our configuration, but there may be times where you might need a user exit. So we've built that capability in. I'll take you through this in a second, which I'm going to hand over on the configuration side. I think we're gonna look at just basic setup and some rules, and we'll come back to this slide in a second. So on that note, Farrell, sorry, I'm coming back to you.
No. Hopefully you can see my screen, everyone. Now I'm logged on to standard GUI screen here. I'm going to show you a little bit of configuration. So that's the standard SAP GUI screen. Those who are familiar with SAP standard GUI. Now the options here I have is system settings here. So this is standard Maestro config in IMG. So those who used to do this config in SAP can make to this. Now it's exactly the same. There's no difference at all. Now I'm not going to go through all of this because it's very comprehensive. It takes days. But just to give you a flavor about how to configure the process, so you can see I can drill down into process rules and templates. So I'm just going to quickly show you. So you select the object here, so which is a material master. Against one object, you could have more than one process. So that's my demo process. And then you see that this is how you built up your process. So you add the steps, you remove the steps as you like. You create the owner groups, you create the dependencies where you like, you have the lead times. Against each of them, you can also define what views the user needs to have access to. So a very simple way of doing things. And then this is an interface button here, and then you have an option whether you want to run the interface as a BDC program or a custom BAPI functions. So we at the moment support BCs and BAPIs both, but our recommendation is always to go with the BAPI interface for obvious reasons. Some of the rules, going back to how easy it is, so I select the object first, and then I select the rule type. So you can see there are now rules that are supported, constantly adding different rule types to this. So the very simple one to look at is the default value rule. So you click there, and then I'm just going to look at the demo default value. So you select the rule ID and select the default values. And you can that against each view, you just specify the values. You remember I was showing you on MRP, this was the default values. And then you can also put the condition behind them saying, if my plant is equal to 1,000, then only that's default value. And if the plant is, 2,000, show me the default value. So you can see there is no coding at all, a simple config. You can go and write your own rules. The other quick rule you can do is about the naming convention. So I go in there and say, format mask rule. So you might want to have a description saying you should always start with the first as uppercase characters, and the rest can be anything. So like this, a very simple rules. You can write your own. No need for programmers. We also have camera exits. If you want, you can write in data validation. So that loads in there. Hopefully, as Dan mentioned, 90% we can cover it by these different rule types, which we can go into the details if you're interested at some stage. That's about it, Dan. I think so in the
okay.
config.
So pass back to me. I'll summarize, and then we'll open the floor for questions.
Okay. Yeah. To you. Yeah.
Thank you. And you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So to summarize, I appreciate we have ripped through that quite quickly. Touched on a little bit of config. Hopefully, you understand the concept that is for transports that we deploy. It comes with all this kind of rich functionality in there. We draw templates, so it's kind of a rapid deployment solution, and hopefully you get the concept that this is more about process and tasks as well as kind of data and rules. In terms of what's in it, it's done at an object level, so not at a user level. So if you've got users using SAP, our kind of ethos is, well, if you've already paid SAP once, you shouldn't really be having to pay for it again. So based at an object level. I'll rip through all of these slides because we spoke about it. We've got a lengthy roadmap. Next stage is finalizing our cleanse add-on. So this is cleaning legacy data up, which will I'm sure we'll have a WebEx come January. And finally, just a couple of slides, which again we'll circulate to you guys. Some of the differences between MDG, which is SAP's own product, quite a complex thing to get up and running. But these are the kind of the differences between the two solutions. Both have limitations, but we like to think they have less limitations than MDG. Certainly, complexity and cost would be that scores favourably on our side. Just the stats, okay? So we're going live with one client next week, and these are some of the stats that we've done some benchmarking on. So reduction in manual keying, and also the fields that are being populated by business rules. What we try to say to customers is, with business rules, if you know them, great, we'll bake them into Maestro. But if you don't have them, then that's fine, because you can just start slow and gradual with your business rules and start building up capability. So it's a nice approach. Kind of proven numbers from our side. So it has got quite a strong best case. And I won't go through this. What's and others? This is quite an old slide now. But you get our message that it's experience is very important, but also kind of business and process around data is incredibly important. A lot of people, as I said, when they do their SAP projects and they do their blueprints for SAP, they forget master data. So this is if you're doing SAP projects, then this is a perfect thing to kind of drop in alongside the project. And it doesn't have to take huge amounts of time, effort, and resource to actually get up and running. So that's we're in our new premises now in a church in Shropshire. It's where our design and innovation studio is. And I do hope that people understand what solution was, and I'd like to open back up, Amy, for questions, if that's okay.
Brilliant. Thank you both. We have got a couple of questions dropped in. So first one, can Maextro be used with PM Master Data, or is this merely an MM tool?
It's master data object, so I mean we couldn't show all. If you can imagine any object across MM, SD, FI, project systems, whatever it is, engineering, whatever object can be mapped within Maestro. So if you have master data object sitting in SAP, it could be managed with Maestro.
Thank you. You can probably see this question, Dan, in the Q&A. It's quite
Yes.
a long one. Do you want to answer that?
Well, so the first one I think I answered from Lynn.
Yes.
About integration.
You did, and then it's just Lorna.
Yeah,
about
so
the wind shuttle for the upload.
Yeah. Okay.
So what's Lorna doing for everyone? If you can't see that, is that she finds it very difficult to use or write templates for mass creation.
Yep.
For example, sales rep leaves and we have to reassign a number of customers. So, Anne, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, what I'd say, Lorna, maybe either contact us, check out our YouTube video on maths, but hopefully, you gathered from what Farrell's doing, even our configuration is straightforward. I mean, I'm not a technical guy, and I can configure processes. Maths is slightly different in the fact that Maestro does, it will look at your business rules and your processes, and it will offer a template already pre-populated with values. If you don't have any rules or processes associated, it will just drop a template with the various field or column headings and ask you to populate. When you load it back in, it will do a lot of validation. We think it's simple, but it'd be great to get some feedback and try and understand where your current bottlenecks are with that. In thinking as well, you probably won't be able to respond on this, Lorna, but with S4, are you going in the future with Wind Shuttle because of the fact that it's using, am I right in thinking, Farrell, it uses more BDC functionality? So
yes, the GUI scripting.
Yeah, whereas Maestro is kind of, it's all S4, but I mean, it looks like for business partners, we can handle business partners in S4 as it is today. So maybe we pick this one up offline, Lorna.
I was just going to say I could maybe connect you guys together.
Yeah.
And so you can take it offline, maybe.
No problem.
Brilliant. Great. Thank you, Lorna. Also, we just have a question. Is there a license fee per user?
No, I think I covered that one earlier. It's by object. So if you want to run supply chain, customer, vendor, material, for example, it's just one price. It's up to us how many users use it. So if people want to see that price list, just get in contact with us and we'll share that. That's no problem.
Thanks. So what authorization does the user need in the ERP system to be involved in the data gathering? Not sure if you've covered this, actually.
Yeah, that's a good question. Do you want to pick that one?
Yes. The data gathering bits, the user don't need to have any access to the backend function. So, for instance, if I'm creating a material master, I don't need to have access to MMO or MMO2 because the data sits within the Maestro internal table and until it is approved. So only approver needs an access to the backend system.
Yeah.
The actual data gatherer don't need.
Yeah. To summarize that, it's really the final approver is the person that needs the authorization to do any updates to SAP. All data gathering steps, they've got access to Maestro. That's it. So again, from a governance point of view, it works really well.
Thanks, guys. We've got another one popped in. So I see there's a validation on the tool, but what about error handling? If there's a problem in SAP creating the material, for example? Yeah,
great question again. Farrell, do you want to talk about the BAPI logs? And
the final approver who's approving the data would be presented with the BAPI log, the error log, and if the approver has the authority, he could go and change the data and then rerun the BAPI. So it's quite real-time interactive. You clearly see all the error messages that pops up.
We've spent quite a lot of time interpreting technical BAPI logs into things that users will understand.
Yeah.
So, for example, if it's availability check, is this plant? It will pop up the relevant message.
I hope you have the rules, we're expecting any Barbie law to come up because you would have covered all the data checks before it's passed on to the approvers.
Exactly.
Brilliant, thank you. Got another question popped in. Can you see that, Dan? Read that out to everyone.
Yeah.
If the user doesn't need MM01 to utilize Maextro, are there 2 levels of security needed?
Yeah, good question as well, because what we advise, okay, so depending on your object, obviously, but MM01, right, so they don't need the T code to access MM01, but what they would need, the approver will need the authorization objects to update MM01, don't need the transaction code. So when we do our technical deployment, we review what roles you have and all that type of stuff. Some businesses, not that some businesses have kind of done exactly what you're saying there. They've kept their existing authorizations and Maestro, but that doesn't make sense. If you want to lock it down, you need to move the transaction code to MM01 and then you use Maestro, but the approver will still need the authorization objects. So a technical one, but we come across this all the time, and we have a recommendation for how you do it if you want to lock down those transactions and just use Maestro. The indirect license issue, you brought that up. Great point again. No, it's not. Indirect license is not an issue with Maestro because if you're using Maestro, you're an SAP user. So if you're pulling data from Maestro's tables, it's kind of static data anyway. So you don't touch that indirect license issue at all. It's not relevant in this case because it's an SAP add-on.
Thank you. I'll have another question. Can we interface Maextro to external systems like Salesforce, MES systems, SharePoint, etc.?
Yeah, that was similar to the one at the beginning. But yes, to answer the question, yes, different mechanisms to integrate IDOC and file transfer, all different ways.
Yeah, then on for that, would that mean there'd be consultancy service be required? If so, have you benchmarked for a number of days?
I mean, in terms of setup, Maestro is quite simple. All depends on your scope and the training. But as a benchmark, what we typically say is around the 15 to 20 days per project. But that's singing, all dancing with documentation and training and things like that. So it depends on scope. I don't want to commit to anything. But if you look at other solutions out there, you're typically purchasing around 45 days consultancy. With Maestro, it should at least half that.
Thank you, Dan. Any other delegates got any questions? Just pin them in the Q&A tool, or you can pin them in the chat facility that we have. We have a few questions, I think, Dan, and quite some useful ones.
Very low, yeah.
Great. Is there anything you guys want to add, Dan, or for us?
If people have got any questions or they'd like to see how it would kind of work for their business, just get in touch with us. I said previously we're working with quite a number of high profile clients, which is great for the solution because it means we can invest more innovation into the product. But if people want to see a little bit more, just get in contact with us, and we'd be happy to do a kind of one-to-one demo.
And can we also have a copy of the slides, or do we need to be careful with them, or?
No, we should be good. I'll just make
submit some amendments.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no problem at all. I'll follow up with everyone afterwards with the recording and the slides as well.
Thank you, Amy.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us today, and thank you Bluestone for presenting to us all.
No problem. Thank you.
Great. See you all next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.